Hey there, and welcome back to the HQ. Today, we are going to be reacting to There Will Never Ever Be Another Driver like Dale Earnhardt by Implement. I have never watched any of Implement's videos before. That's going to change really quickly because there's a few videos that caught my eye, like one about Monday Night Raw and one about Hungrybox, a Melee player that I know the most about because I know about some Melee players, but mostly HBox. But yeah, I'm gonna watch this one first because it's not too long, not too short, and I have vague memories of NASCAR growing up when I was a little wee ratty, going with my dad to his friend's house, playing on a plug-and-play NES system on one TV, while my dad and his friends watched NASCAR on the big TV. So, let's just jump right into this and learn about Dale Earnhardt.
In the last episode of this series, I talked about the appeal of professional wrestling, a form of entertainment that disguises itself as a sport.
That's a pretty apt way to describe professional wrestling. As someone who has watched wrestling for many years, and the only reason I have not watched the wrestling video yet is because I know how litigious WWE can be about copyright. I haven't watched it yet, and I will at some point, just not yet, until I get some more information on how bad I can expect WWE to try to get with me.
In this episode, I'm going to talk about NASCAR, a sport which tries to disguise itself as entertaining.
Okay, we're off to a start.
Today, NASCAR's Monster Energy Cup Series tours around the country racing in front of mostly empty arenas as sponsorships and television ratings continue to wane. At least with professional wrestling, while not many fans enjoy it anymore, there's still at least a small nucleus of people that still care about it.
Oh yeah, wrestling fans, we are a tight-knit group. I haven't been into wrestling a lot recently, not in the last year at least. I do want to jump back into it, just kind of slowly mesh my way back in, get around to watching Raw on Netflix. Maybe get around to trying to watch some AEW again. You know, just kind of squeeze my way back in, but it's a hard ask because I'm like a full 2 years behind on storylines.
It's nearly impossible to find anyone these days who actually cares about NASCAR.
Hold on, I'm gonna give my best NASCAR noise impression.
Most people, upon hearing the name NASCAR, immediately think of a dumb sport where dumb
Oh.
rednecks watch cars go around in circles.
I don't think that's very kosher. What are you doing to Lightning McQueen?
But I'm here to tell you that's wrong. The cars actually go around in ovals. In all seriousness,
Okay,
though,
semantics.
it ain't easy being a NASCAR
Semantics.
fan. It ain't easy having to constantly justify to people why you like something that's about as popular as licorice. There was once a time when many more people liked NASCAR, but
Yeah, I mean, really, at this point, people who like races, like, typically they'll just watch like F1 or something because it's like high stakes races on more complex tracks. Like, my brother and his husband plan on going up to Canada at some point this year because they're going to see an F1 circuit. And that's really cool. And them and my mom are going up there to watch it, which, you know, I don't mind because, I mean, I don't have a passport and I don't feel like traveling all the way to Canada, especially because I'm pretty sure they're going to Quebecois. And I know how the Quebecois can be. No offense if you're from Quebec. I'm just making jokes and goofs and gaffs. I'm sure the Quebecois are very nice people.
that time has long since passed. The vacuous boredom often associated with the sport today has paradoxically created intrigue for reasons why anyone would even like it in the first place.
God, those
Trying
empty
to convince
stands.
anybody to actually care about NASCAR is a pretty tall order, but that won't stop me from trying.
Do your
Because there's
best.
one driver in the sport's turbulent history that truly embodies all of the reasons why NASCAR was, at one time, the second most popular sport in America.
God,
This
imagine
is
that.
the story of Dale Earnhardt.
God, imagine going back to a day where NASCAR was the #2 sport. Like, I can only assume football was #1. Because I can't imagine baseball being #1 in America. Japan, sure. Japan are all kinds of nutty about baseball. Like, if there's an anime, you can guarantee it has two things: a beach episode and a baseball episode. Like even like animes like Sonic X, it had a beach episode and it had a baseball episode. Dragon Ball Super had a baseball episode. Speaking of, we just got news that Dragon Ball Super is coming back, and I'm super hyped about that. And you can bet your bottom butt that I am going to be reacting to that on the channel as it comes out. So look forward to that. But yeah, imagine going back to a time when NASCAR was the #2 in the nation. A content analysis. Episode 3, huh? Intimidator, Dale Earnhardt.
Many of my viewers like to draw comparisons between me and a writer by the name of John Boyes, and it's a pretty fair comparison, considering John Boyes is one of my biggest inspirations as a creator today.
Oh!
Last Halloween, John...
It's honestly really great to be compared to someone that, like, is your inspiration. Like, I don't see that ever happening to myself anytime soon, just because I don't have the same kind of grind that other VTubers have, because unfortunately, I don't have the time for that. I work a 50-hour-a-week job in a factory, and I don't get a whole lot of time to myself to do all my VTubing stuff. Like, all my editing, my shorts, my social media, I do that all myself. And I don't have any method of loaning that work out to anyone else as much as I would love to. I just can't, because I have a very particular style of things, and as much as I'd love to have someone put together like shorts content for like Instagram and YouTube Shorts and stuff like that, I just I don't have the money for it, and I don't want to put that kind of burden on someone to do it, to ask them to do it for free. But I would love to be in like the same conversation as some of my Oshis and some of my friends, like Alicia X Life, Makari Morph, Luminous Red. They're people that inspire me to continue to push every day to be more than what I am. And I might be small. Other people might have tens of thousands of subscribers, and I only have a few hundred, but that's not going to stop me. I'm just going to keep on pushing. I've seen some VTubers drop out after a year of slow growth, but this is a very saturated space. And I'm just going to keep on pushing because this is just something I love to do. I just love doing this. So I'm just going to keep doing it.
John wrote a short story about a pitcher who sells his soul to Satan and falls away from the earth in the middle of a baseball game. While this story is clearly a work of fiction, it is eerily comparable to the real life and death of Dale Earnhardt.
Oh.
Our story begins in the rural American town of Kannapolis, North Carolina. Sometime in the late 1960s, a young Dale Earnhardt drops out of high school and uses what little money he has to start competing at locally sanctioned dirt track races. Earnhardt most likely shares the same lofty, unobtainable pipe dream as all of his competitors, to work his way up the ranks and eventually race in the top series of NASCAR.
God, I love this song.
NASCAR, like Dale Earnhardt, had its origins in the rural American South. The roots of the sport can be traced
I do know
back
about,
to the
because I
Prohibition
love,
era, where moonshiners attempting to smuggle barrelfuls of illegal whiskey would tune up their cars to be able to outrun police. When Prohibition ended in the 1930s, the smugglers were left with nothing to do but race each other.
Imagine this being like a whole, like, imagine this having like a whole like criminal organization where you just soup up your cars to drive faster than cops. And then as soon as like what you're doing becomes perfectly legal, kind of, sort of, they're like, well, shit, what do we do with these souped up cops? Let's go to the dirt tracks. Imagine that.
Small, unsanctioned races began to take place all across the South,
God,
but perhaps no other place became a more popular racing destination than Daytona Beach, Florida. The beaches of Daytona feature finely...
I do know about Daytona, just because, you know, Daytona is... you know the title screen. I'm not going to do it now just because I'm eating soup, like hot stew, and I don't want to hurt my throat whenever I take another bite. But, you know, the Daytona music. Daytona, USA is what I'm thinking of. That and Talladega, because Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby.
grained sand that forms a hard, compact surface ideal for auto racing. In the early 20th century, automotive engineers would use the beaches of Daytona to try to break the land speed record. Eventually, record attempts would migrate to the salt flats of Bonneville, Utah, leaving Daytona open for a new frontier of stock car racing.
Whoa.
Stock car racing differs greatly from other racing series such as IndyCar or Formula One. These types of open-wheel racing feature expertly crafted machines specifically designed to maximize speed and handling. While open-wheel machines require an impressive degree of skill and finesse to operate, their design also leaves them very fragile, rendering them virtually unable to contact each other on the track.
Oh yeah, I've seen some I occasionally watch and listen to videos of just disasters happening while working, because I have to have something to pass the time at work. And I have had a startlingly large amount of videos like that, specifically about crashes of Formula One or just open wheel racing. These cars are extremely fragile. One little bump and you could send this thing fishtailing into a wall, and it shatters like a fucking Lego piece, like a Lego thing thrown at a wall. It is frightening how fragile these things are.
As even a slight tap can produce a scrapyard of wrecked race cars.
Yeah,
because of this, open-wheel racers rarely ever touch, resulting in very clean and fluid racing. Stock cars are pretty much the complete opposite. It essentially asks the question of, what would happen if you bought a car from the dealership and started racing it? Naturally, consumer-grade cars are much more bulky and less aerodynamically dependent than their open-wheel counterparts. This allows stock cars to take much more of a beating while still remaining competitive, leading to a style of racing that is slower but much more durable and contact-heavy.
Though I can't imagine being able to just, go out and just buy yourself a Subaru and just take that thing straight to the fucking track. There has to be some work under the hood for that. I just can't imagine that.
It's a style of racing that started to become wildly popular in the American South. And perhaps no other man was more responsible for the ride.
That makes sense. I've seen the Dukes of Hazzard. My dad really loved that movie. We had all of it, me and all my siblings watch it with him when we were kids. My dad loves the Dukes of Hazzard. The Dukes of Hazzard show, and another thing I was thinking of, Smokey and the Bandit. That's it. That's what I was thinking of. Smokey and the Bandit. But yeah.
Of American stock car racing than Bill France. Bill France was a fan of stock car racing since the days of his youth in the Roaring '20s, where he would skip school to drive laps in his parents' Model T. When the Great Depression struck,
God, imagine racing those things.
Less than $100 to his name. But he was able to stay afloat by racing cars on the beach. Eventually, Bill France would transition from race driver to race promoter, and on February 21st, 1948, he revolutionized American motorsports by founding the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, NASCAR. Before NASCAR, stock car racing mostly featured scattered
so he's the founder of NASCAR.
With inconsistent rules.
Very interesting.
With no major governing body to sanction races, there was nothing stopping some promoters from just not paying drivers the winnings they were owed.
That's some dicketry right there. That's why I'm glad sports and stuff like that are far more heavily regulated. Say what you want about rules and all that stuff, but these larger governing bodies of these sports is what allows for competitors to get paid. And it's why you see these massive probably not exactly an applicable comparison, comparing it to esports where you have prize pools and stuff, but any sport needs a decent governing body to make sure that things are smooth, fair, and everybody gets compensated. It's why things the competitive melee scene for the longest time, and the competitive Smash in general, is just a mess. It's just an absolute mess. Don't even get me started on all the shit that happened last year with Hacks Money. Don't even get me started on all that shit. That was a fucking mess and should have never happened.
NASCAR changed all of this by organizing a unified schedule of racing events, complete with a singular rule set, championship point system, and guaranteed driver winnings. NASCAR truly became the first legitimate stock car racing league in America, and all of a sudden, the allure of earning fame and fortune through a life of racing began to attract drivers from far and wide. One of these drivers was a young Ralph Earnhardt, who in 1953 started racing full-time in NASCAR's Sportsman Series. Ralph Earnhardt's talent on quarter-mile dirt tracks made him a regional racing star in the Carolinas, and even won him the Sportsman Series championship in 1956. And even though he would use his racing talent to single-handedly lift himself out of poverty, he surprisingly didn't wish the same destiny upon his son, Dale Earnhardt.
So Dale Earnhardt is a second-generation racer then. Well, that makes more sense on why he is so famous. Why wouldn't his dad want that on his son? It's weird.
Both Ralph and Dale grew up in Kannapolis, North Carolina, a town so rural that it wasn't even incorporated until 1984. Before that, almost everyone born into this place had no way out. Only Ralph Earnhardt's racing talent could save him from a lifelong career at the local cotton mill.
Like, is it still that small? Like, you would think it would be famous these days and have a lot of tourism because, you know, the place where the Earnhardt family came from. You'd think so, at least.
Dale Earnhardt saw his father as his greatest inspiration, and he saw racing as his only real ticket to success.
Ralph that makes sense.
Didn't want his son to race,
Ralph
despite his own
got
talent
famous
in
from
the sport. Talent is a very rare thing. If everyone were talented, no one would be.
God.
Ralph.
Deadass, real talk though, Syndrome is such a good villain. I love The Incredibles. I love The Incredibles. It's a shame they never got a sequel. Real talk though, Incredibles 2, not the greatest movie. Not the best. Not the best.
Ralph Earnhardt probably knew this, and if he had his way, Dale Earnhardt would have quit racing to graduate high school and get a nice desk job in the big city. He probably never expected his son to become one of the greatest drivers ever. He never lived to see it either.
That's
Just
a
20
shame.
years after he began racing full-time, Ralph Earnhardt died of a heart attack.
Oh!
Dale Earnhardt...
45 years old. God damn. Like these good, talented people just dying young.
Could have followed his father's wishes, and if he did, he'd probably still be around today. But instead, he chose to follow in his father's footsteps. And in trying to prove to his late father that he belonged in a race car, Dale Earnhardt would accidentally become one of the best in the world. Just 6 years later, he found himself at the crossroads of history.
Oh, Daytona International Speedway.
Traffic. Take a look at that. Earnhardt blazes back into the front
1979.
Here's Earnhardt, your leader, out of turn 4.
Even at the very beginning of Dale Earnhardt's rookie season in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, his talent was undeniable. For a moment, he found himself leading the 21st annual Daytona 500, which may have been the most important race in the history of NASCAR. Daytona International Speedway is quite possibly the greatest arena ever constructed by man. The scale of this place is difficult to describe, but let's just say it's big enough to be sunny on one end and stormy on the other.
Yeah, that is a really big place. Like, I'm not a NASCAR head, but it is very pretty to look at. Like, stadiums and stuff like that are just really fascinating to look at. Because it's like, you don't really get the scale of it whenever you're watching it on TV. It's only whenever you, like, actually go to the place and you see just how big it is. Like, even, like, a small, like, auditorium, like, having gone to a couple of live shows of Monday Night Raw, like, I've been to a Monday Night Raw taping and a SmackDown taping in my life. And it is a completely different experience from watching it on TV. You don't get, like, the commentary, of course, but, like, just being there live just has a certain energy to it. And it's just hard to forget.
This modern-day Coliseum is the fruit of one of the most ambitious engineering projects of the 20th century, conceived from the outrageous imagination of none other than Bill France.
Jesus.
After 20 years of watching sloppy races on the beach, Bill France sought to construct a racetrack where drivers would never have to let off the throttle.
I mean,
the
I
result
bet.
was a 2.5-mile-long trioval
the road
surrounded
being
by a
sloped
31-degree embankment.
31.
The sheer size of these corners is downright intimidating. It
Yeah,
looks
that
like
is
you have a hard
scary
time
to look
walking
at.
up them, let alone driving on them.
That is
The mere
honestly a little
architecture of
scary
this
to
place
look at.
boggles the mind today. So you could only imagine the amazement of the 42,000 spectators who witnessed the inaugural running of the Daytona 500. The pure spectacle of almost 60 stock cars barreling around an asphalt bowl at 135 miles per hour was something that no one had ever seen before. And after an unforgettable photo finish, the Daytona 500 immediately established itself as the most prestigious event in the NASCAR
triple
schedule.
photo
For every
finish.
stock car driver in America, a win at Daytona is...
I'm not about to become a NASCAR fan, am I? I'm not, am I? Please don't do this to me, Implement. Like, I'm very susceptible to propaganda. I don't need to become a NASCAR fan right now.
The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. At the time of its opening in 1959, Daytona International Speedway was the largest track of its kind. 10 years later, Bill France would build an even bigger one in Talladega, Alabama. And while Talladega Superspeedway would also go on to be very popular with fans,
even bigger,
it would not displace the Daytona 500 as NASCAR's crown jewel event. And that's why in 1979, CBS elected to broadcast the full race live in front of a national audience. It would be the first live broadcast of an entire 500-mile motorsports event in the history of American television. NASCAR found itself in a perfect storm of circumstances, quite literally, as on the day of the race, a blizzard left most of the eastern U.S. stuck indoors with nothing to do but watch.
Topical. Same shit going on right now. My car is currently buried under about 14 inches of snow. I tried to dig it out, only to find that the road that my house is on has a 3-inch thick sheet of frozen ice snow. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon until I can break that stuff up.
The Daytona 500. An estimated 15 million viewers tuned into this race, and for a brief moment, some of them got to see an unknown driver by the name of Dale Earnhardt leading the race. While his father dominated on short tracks, Dale Earnhardt would find his greatest success on the big ones, even though they would also provide him with his greatest turmoil. He didn't know it at the time, nor did anybody else watching, but Dale Earnhardt was cursed. This is the story of a person and a place, a racer's relationship with a racetrack. This was merely the first chapter of Dale versus Daytona. Earnhardt would go on to finish 8th out of 41 drivers in this race. Not bad.
How did he go from 2 to 8?
At NASCAR's most
he must have had something
Dale Earnhardt's rookie effort would be reduced to an afterthought, however, as everyone's attention was instead drawn to perhaps the greatest finish in the history of NASCAR.
It's all come down to this. Out of turn 2, Donnie Allison in first. Where will Cale make his move? He comes to the inside. Donnie Allison throws the block. Cale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They hit again. They drive into the turn. They're hitting the wall.
Oh my goodness. Overcomes a half-lap deficit to score a record 6th Daytona 500 victory.
And here comes a $60,000
Holy hell.
car becoming a 22-passenger school bus to bring his crew to victory lane.
God damn.
Between Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison, the tempers overflowing. They're angry. They know they have lost. And what a bitter defeat.
So this is the first ever, broadcast of NASCAR on national television. They get a last second double wreck, a photo finish from someone making up half a lap behind and picking up a record win, and then a fight on the infield. Yeah, no wonder NASCAR got so big.
In just a matter of minutes, the television audience got to experience dramatic racing, a crash, an unforgettable last lap pass, NASCAR's most iconic driver setting an unbreakable record, and a bare-knuckle fistfight, all on live TV. All of a sudden, the colloquial regional sport of NASCAR found itself with a national audience. The finish made it all the way to the front page of the New York Times sports section, and NASCAR would never be the same. The 1979 season saw Dale Earnhardt capture his first career win in just his 16th start. He would win the Rookie of the Year award for that season and go on to finish 7th in the overall standings in a year where Richard Petty won his 7th and final Winston Cup championship.
Jesus.
At this point in time, Richard
My
Petty
man's
is
just
unanimously
winning.
regarded as the greatest driver in the history of the sport. Looking at it today, his career statistics seem almost mythical. Petty's 200 career victories are
200 wins. God damn. That is some numbers. 35 racing seasons, 200 wins.
almost double the next driver on NASCAR's all-time win list, and his
Damn.
7 series championships were, at the time, more than double any other driver. After the 1979 season, the mere notion of any other driver challenging Petty's throne as the greatest of all time was laughable, but if anyone were to do it, it would have to be a driver the likes of which no one had ever seen.
Where Dale Earnhardt in car number 2 is currently the leader, and he is on his way to victory and hopefully to pick up some additional points as he is on his way in his sophomore year to a national championship.
Oh, is Dale just going to start racking up the dubs?
In 1980, Dale Earnhardt shocked everyone by winning the Winston Cup Series championship in just his second full-time season.
God,
only the 15th different driver to achieve the title of NASCAR champion. Already in his young career, Dale Earnhardt had joined some elite company, but he would soon learn that even when you're great, you're still a long way from the best. Although he began with one of the greatest starts to any career in NASCAR history,
you got one
Earnhart's
ton
car
run.
under Rod
You got one.
unexpectedly
Just,
saw his race team midway through the 1981 season. Earnhardt reacted poorly to this transition and struggled for the next few seasons while bouncing from owner to owner. After going winless in 1981, Dale Earnhardt had the worst statistical season of his career the following season, finishing the 1982 campaign with an abysmal average finish of 19th, while failing to finish more than half of his races for the year. After such,
like, imagine going from like having a career high in your second ever like season, and then you just go from just stacking L's like it's nobody's business.
Such a promising beginning, Earnhardt's Winston Cup career had slammed straight into a concrete wall.
I tell you, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. When you do that in a hot car,
Hanukkah Raceway, yo! Oh my goodness!
One of Earnhardt's 18 DNFs for the season resulted from a violent crash at Pocono that sent his number 15 Ford skidding on its roof down the embankment of the first corner. The accident would fracture his kneecap, but it wouldn't stop the scrappy Earnhardt from racing the very next week at Talladega, where he would suffer another hard crash.
How does he fracture his kneecap like that? And then he just races again the next week. How does he do that?
This was surely the most trying time of Earnhardt's racing career. Many at this time began to wonder whether Earnhardt's 1980 championship was just a fluke. But Dale Earnhardt was not like the other drivers. He wasn't racing for the fame or the fortune. He was racing to prove that he belonged. He was racing to prove himself to his late father. And when a man is dead set on accomplishing an impossible task, he will never stop chasing it. When faced with the lowest moment of his career, Dale Earnhardt did what he always did. He waited for an opportunity and pushed forward.
Fuck you, buddy.
Earnhardt going to turn 3 at 200 miles an hour. Winds it up.
Is that fucking Initial D music? I know Initial D whenever I hear it.
Stock car racing's all-time winner.
After these messages.
When you need a mower, go with the best. Go with Lowe's.
You'll be a winner at Lowe's.
Oh. Okay.
Every weekend throughout America, there is great NASCAR racing.
We're just having a quick commercial segment.
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
This, wow, God, that is... And now a word from our sponsor. God. Dollar Shave Club. This is... Okay. This is certainly a way to do an ad segment. Oh.
Is this the best a man can get?
What is it, like?
Is this the best a man can get? But something finally changed.
Oh my God.
You're an idiot. Okay, I'm fucking better than you. Okay, much better.
God. What is this ad segment? What is this ad segment?
Hey, we were watching that.
Join the club today and you will see why 2019 won't be like 1984.
1984.
Of the 1984 Talladega 500, this man, Dale Earnhardt, is successful.
In 1984,
Dale back on top?
Dale Earnhardt found himself with a new owner, Richard Childress, and a new car number, 3. He would stick with both of them for the rest of his career.
Oh, well,
Under
that's good.
Childress,
He finally has some
Earnhardt's
consistency.
career would immediately begin to rebound, and it would mark the beginning of his finest era. By 1986, Earnhardt would be champion once more, becoming just the 11th driver in history to win multiple NASCAR championships. In 1987, he had the best statistical season of his career, finishing the year with 11 wins and his 3rd Cup championship.
Wow.
And after this dominant
He's just
season,
racking up dubs.
Earnhardt would return in black, embracing his new role as the Intimidator.
Oh,
now would
that
probably
is
be a good time to explain
Black
what
car
exactly
is
made
definitely
Dale Earnhardt
good.
such a potent racer. Well,
Black
Dale
car
Earnhardt
looks
first
good.
learned his racing style from watching his father slide around on dirt tracks, and he never really unlearned it. Remember earlier how I mentioned that the durability of stock cars allows them to more easily bump into each other? Well, Dale Earnhardt would take this idea and turn his vehicle into a
The
weapon.
8-bit Michael
Earnhardt
Jackson
would make frequent
music.
use of the bump and run, a racing tactic where a driver uses the inertia of their own car to move other drivers out of the way and advance their position. It's a maneuver that's practically unheard of in open-wheel racing because it's really only possible in a series like NASCAR.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Even within NASCAR, the bump and run is still a highly controversial move. Racing purists consider it a dirty tactic, as it detracts from the skill of outlining your competitors. Other fans view it as a valid and necessary part of stock car racing, considering it's a viable strategy that's not against the rules.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not against the rules and it's a valid strategy, then I don't see a problem with it.
Your outlook of this issue most likely determined whether or not you were a fan of Dale Earnhardt, as his frequent use of the bump and run quickly made him one of the most polarizing drivers in NASCAR, and his notoriety would only grow as he became one of the most dominant drivers in the sport. For many drivers, nothing was scarier than seeing Dale Earnhardt in your rearview mirror.
I
If
bet.
you saw
Oh
the
my
number
goodness.
3 Chevy behind you, you would either get out of his way, or he would make you get out of his way.
Jesus,
For many years,
he was a
Earnhardt was
fierce
NASCAR's
racer
greatest
then.
heel.
It's not fair.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
You know, the thing of it is, you go out and you run as hard as you can all day long, and then him trying to cut you out to outrun it, that ain't the way I was brought up racing.
I guess what they were insinuating, don't go run into Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah,
if you
basically.
weren't an Earnhardt fan, it was probably very easy to hate him, because there was a good chance you could recall a time when he wrecked your favorite driver. Despite Earnhardt's tendency to enforce his will upon others.
God, it reminds me of just like how wrestling heels were treated back then, with one oh god damn chair, stop creaking on me. But one wrestling heel that has a lot of good stories about his days in the business is Jim Cornette, and telling all these stories back before the veil was lifted of kayfabe, and just talking about the various ways that people would threaten him, like the times he had a gun pulled on him, the times that people threatened him. He has a museum in his attic of framed letters of death threats that he's gotten from disgruntled fans. A good heel knows what they're doing, and I'm sure Dale knew exactly what he was doing, pissing everybody off.
Drivers on the track, he certainly had his fair share of supporters. Dale Earnhardt raced in real life how anybody races the first time they pick up a NASCAR video game. The other drivers were just obstacles separating him from first place. Many fans found Earnhardt's cavalier style endearing and relatable. He would struggle and claw for every single position, much like how many fans in the poor American South had to struggle for every paycheck. Who cares if he bangs up some other cars, he's just trying to win like the rest of them. An uneducated small-town hick with no other prospects trying to turn lemons into lemonade. For anyone stuck in rural America, Earnhardt represented the way out. Standing outside of his car, Earnhardt was just like them, but as soon as he stepped inside that black number 3, he transformed into a racing god. A lot of Earnhardt's detractors pointed to his racing style as an unfair crutch, but eventually, for anyone watching long enough,
hold on a second.
His talent was undisputable.
That jingle's a little familiar. Is that fucking NG's music from TF2? From his trailer? I'm pretty sure that is. It sounds familiar.
And Earnhardt loses it, goes on the grass, comes back, and Earnhardt still got the lead. Incredible!
Although Dale Earnhardt remains one of the most memorable NASCAR drivers to this day, he was never the most popular driver. That distinction belonged to Bill Elliott.
You know, the thing of it is, I have been not the aggressive driver all my life. You know, I've tried to give and take with the best of the things. But when a guy cuts you off that bad, and
how do you get so popular? How do you get so popular that you like feel the need to withdraw your name from the list because you want other drivers to actually win?
Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, Georgia, was in many ways a foil to Dale
Awesome
Earnhardt.
Bill from Dawsonville.
He, too, came from a racing family and rose to prominence in the 80s as one of NASCAR's
best. So he was the face
The soft-spoken and
Bill's
humble
heel.
Elliott contrasted heavily with the outspoken and brash Earnhardt. Whereas Earnhardt would gain notoriety for his combative racing style, the name of Elliott's game was speed. Over the past decade in NASCAR, the overall speeds of the race cars had gradually risen, especially on the giant superspeedways of Daytona and Talladega. In 1984,
200
Dale
miles
Yarborough
per hour.
became the first stock car driver in history to set a 200-mile-per-hour qualifying lap at Daytona. The very next lap, he would lose control and total his race car.
Oh shit.
As the speeds crept upwards, the drivers crept ever closer to the edge of control. Despite the newfound risk, NASCAR's top speeds continue to climb. With each new superspeedway event, engineers and crews would roll out ever so faster cars. And from 1985 to 1987, no car was faster than Bill Elliott's red and white Ford Thunderbird. Perhaps his most stunning achievement came in the 1985 Winston 500, when Elliott cut an oil line and fell 2 laps behind the leaders, only to make up the entire deficit under green and win the race. His car was simply that much faster than the others.
Bruh.
In modern times,
how was
nobody
he
has
able
monopolized NASCAR racing like Bill Elliott. He has raced around this
that
season
much
faster than a person throwing double sixes.
2 years later at the same event, Bill Elliott would set NASCAR's all-time speed record, 212.8 miles per hour.
Dog.
For comparison, the pole speed for the Indianapolis 500 that same year, the fastest open wheel race, was 215. It's also important to note that, on average, a stock car weighs about twice as much as an Indy car.
Oh my god. That is
There's been a pretty big elephant in the room during this whole video. So far I've talked on and on about the history of NASCAR, but I've yet to explain why people actually like it. I mean, sure, it's easy to cherry pick the sport's most exciting moments, but what about the other 99% of the time is just regular old-fashioned racing? What's the appeal of watching cars go around in circles? Well, long story short, people don't watch NASCAR for the same reasons they watch other sports. You can pick up a football and start playing right now in your backyard. You can't just hop in a NASCAR and start racing people. In order to understand the appeal of NASCAR, we have to talk about soldiers, astronauts, and prestige. Being a soldier comes with a...
That's an incredibly specific set of things. Let's see how this all ties together.
Certain amount of prestige. Most people find their sacrifice admirable, but you don't have to search far to find people who disagree. You'd be hard-pressed, however, to find anyone who doubts the prestige of an astronaut.
Oh, yeah.
You can talk about intelligence and science degrees and technical skill all you want, but
anybody who has the stones to go up to space like that,
wars, while astronauts fight against the surly bonds of nature itself. It takes bravery to volunteer yourself to go fight in some far-off foreign land, but it takes a whole nother level of bravery to strap yourself into a pressurized metal canister and fly out of the top of the sky. Astronauts have so much prestige because they come the closest to kissing the snarling jaws of certain death. There's no denying that war is also deadly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As unfortunate as it is, we are closer to that right now than I would ever like to be. God, Why couldn't we just have more astronauts instead of wars?
But humans have been fighting and killing each other since the dawn of man. It's easy to understand the nature of warfare. It's difficult to understand the limits of nature itself. And nothing is more terrifying than what we don't understand. Who am I kidding? This is a dumb analogy. NASCAR drivers are nothing like astronauts. I mean, come on. Have you ever seen a NASCAR fly?
Oh, no. He hit the black screen, and then he hits the fucking summoning salt music, so I know it's about to get really nutty. May 3rd, 1987.
Corresponding with Bill Elliott's record-breaking qualifying lap, Bobby Allison would blow a tire in the tri-oval. The back of his car would lift off the ground and sail into the catch fence at nearly 200 miles per hour.
Oh my God.
It turns out that if you spin a car sideways at a fast enough speed, the aerodynamics will force the car aloft like the wing of an airplane. In the 1987 Winston 500, the 210
dog.
mile per hour
I don't
pace
like
was
that.
enough to lift up Bobby Allison's 3,500-pound race car like a piece of paper. For a brief, surreal moment, all of NASCAR stood still. By pure chance, Allison's left front fender clipped the wall the instant before the back of his car hit the catch fence, which redirected the momentum of his car.
Now, like, the slow motion is really not doing this justice. He's doing this at 211 miles per hour, by the way.
Car away from the spectators. Had Allison spun at just a slightly different angle, we could have witnessed a tragedy on the scale of the 1955 Le Mans disaster, where an out-of-control...
The fucking Le Mans disaster, holy shit. I've seen a video about that. Like a stock car being, like a car being flung into a crowd with no catch fence, no protection. Like the wheel bearing flying so fast in such a way that it was like a frisbee decapitating people. It was
race car was projected into the stands at a very high speed. 83 spectators were killed in the catastrophe, leading many European nations to place a temporary ban on all motorsports. To this day, it remains the deadliest accident in racing history.
Yeah, let's hope it stays that way.
Allison's car had sheared a 100-foot gap in the protective fencing, and NASCAR fans found themselves staring into an eerie window of what could have happened. Miraculously, only 5 spectators were injured, and no one was killed. The line between driver and spectator had been severed, and it could have ended NASCAR entirely. Fortunately, NASCAR would make good use of their second chance, as the era of speed came to a permanent end.
Oh. He's gonna put, like, speed limits on the race?
This accident would force NASCAR to implement restrictor plates at all future superspeedway races, which would limit the horsepower of all cars to keep them below dangerous speeds. This would profoundly change the way drivers raced at Daytona and Talladega.
You know, keep them below dangerous speeds. Meanwhile, they go from racing at 213 to 193 miles per hour. So they're still going almost 200 miles per hour. They're just not going, 20 miles faster.
Gone were the days of Bill Elliott making up 5 miles under green. Restrictor plates made it so that cars could no longer pull away from each other, instead emphasizing the attractive effects of slipstream. Simple racing moves such as passing were now drastically altered, as timing and aerodynamics were now much more important than speed and handling.
Very interesting.
Ate it all up. It made everybody the same speed, and that made it probably more dangerous than when we were running 210.
Naturally, many...
Yeah, I mean, you have people that sit here and complain about it and bitch and whine about these regulations, but people bitch and whine about regulations all the time. Like, you can probably look it up right now on YouTube. Not right now, of course. Not wait until after you get done, or open up a new tab and see it, and then bring back over to this video. But, like, there is literally news footage going, like, on YouTube of people, like after, like, certain laws are passed about drinking and driving laws, and people on the news being like, well, I think it should be perfectly okay for someone to have a little drink before they drive, and stuff like that. Or, like, people, like, outraged over the passing of mandatory seatbelt laws. Like, people will bitch about anything, Like, no matter how safe it gets. Like stuff like mask mandates and stuff like that are not new things. Like, this is like full-on Darwinism at its finest. People bitching and whining about having to do things that keep themselves and other people safer, and they just completely disregard it. This has been going on for 100 years. It's like, this is just a human nature thing.
Many drivers were unhappy with this new change, and no driver hated restrictor plate racing more than Dale Earnhardt.
As slow as all of us is running, there'd probably be trouble everywhere.
Which was a little odd, considering he was the best restrictor plate racer on the planet.
Thank you for the follow. 1 second. Thank you for the follow, Seko de Saga. I'm gonna try one pass at that. I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. Like, Seko de Saga. Like, I'm certainly giving it a shot. I'm not so great at reading names, especially without my glasses on, because I have to have my glasses off to get optimal facial tracking. No, otherwise it gets a little wonky because my webcam does not like glasses. And I don't have something that's a bit more better at facial tracking, like an iPhone, which I plan on getting at some point. I just don't have one yet. Also, goddamn, Dale is just stacking these dubs. Just stacking them. 24 wins, 47 top 5s.
It was one of the most dominant runs of any race category in motorsports history, and it happened during a time when NASCAR had arguably its toughest ever competition. The 90s truly were a golden age of NASCAR and popular culture. Attendance and television ratings
there was a whole mess of green there.
Thunder drew intrigue from across the nation. Big brands and TV networks were lining up to capture their own slice of the booming NASCAR scene. NASCAR had gone fully national, and it had fundamentally transformed itself from a simple showcase of speed in the prior decade. The sponsors, drivers, tracks, and cars had all changed, but one thing remained the same. Dale Earnhardt was dominating the competition. From 1990 to 1994, Dale Earnhardt would win 4 more Cup championships.
So he wins 4 more on top of his previous 2. I don't know if he wanted more than that, but like, so he, at this point, unless there's more than I'm not thinking of from the ones he won in the 80s, he has 6 now, putting him just behind the other guy,
tying Richard Petty's record of 7, a record considered by many to be.
So he had 3 in the 80s, 4 in the 90s, and tying Richard Petty. Jeez. All in the span of 14 years.
Untouchable just 10 years prior. With each new championship, it became harder and harder for people to disregard Earnhardt's success. Although many still resented his racing style, you can't win 7 NASCAR championships without being a pretty talented driver.
Absolutely.
Earnhardt's detractors were simply running out of excuses to deny his greatness.
6, 7.
Soon, there was only one thing keeping Dale out of the conversation for the greatest of all time.
God, you know what I wish I had? I wish I had more expressions on my model, because like, if you know a VTuber / streamer of the name of Mberries, she does like a lot of Sonic stuff. Like, that wild, like, chaotic gremlin energy is something I fucking envy, and I wish I could just like have like a smidgen of that.
You've not won Daytona, right?
I've won Daytona, the firecracker race in July, but I haven't won the Daytona 500. That's like the Super Bowl race for us.
The beginning of this video did say that like this was like one of the stories of like the eternal feud of Dale and Daytona. So
after 17 years of effort, the Daytona 500 belongs to Franklin, Tennessee's Darrell Waltrip. He's done it.
I won the Daytona 500. I won the Daytona 500.
In 1989,
He's
Darrell
so
Waltrip
giddy
won
about
his
it.
first and only Daytona 500 in his 17th attempt. At the time, he was considered the best driver to never win it, and after he did, everyone was left to wonder about the next best driver to take Waltrip's place. Immediately, many thought of Dale Earnhardt, who had yet to win the Daytona 500 after 11 tries. But surely in 1990, while entering the final corner of the final lap in first place, after leading 3/4 of the race, Earnhardt could put the narrative to rest.
They still run single file.
He's got it.
Down the back straightaway.
He's got it.
To go. Still Earnhardt now stretching his lead by another car length over Cope. Labonte can't do anything with Cope either. Earnhardt blows a tire in turn number 3.
He blew a tire.
Number 10, Derek Cope, something amiss on the Earnhardt car. Coming to the line.
Cope won just 2 races in his entire NASCAR Winston Cup career. This was one of them. Oh my God. He won 2 races in his whole career, and one of them was the Daytona 500.
We run over some debris and cut a right rear tire down, David. Just a quarter of a lap away from victory.
Oh, you know he's pissed. You know he is pissed off, dude. Oh my God, that is insane. That is fucking insane. Holy shit. Like, a little bit of debris. He is fuming.
In 1991, Earnhardt would damage his car after hitting a seagull, forcing him to pit. He would battle...
He hit a seagull. That bird was atomized against his hood.
All the way back to second place before crashing with 2 laps to go.
Fails to win the Daytona 500 again.
In 1992, Earnhardt would get caught up in a crash that wasn't his
Yeah,
fault.
that was a bird, a seagull. It was a bird. And it was atomized against his car. Holy shit.
A newfound consequence of restrictor plate racing were massive crashes that would often wipe out over a dozen cars. After a while, these crashes seemed almost inevitable due to the extremely close pack racing that now resembled rush hour traffic, but at 190
This is
miles
one
per
of the
hour.
things I
One
know
slight
about
error by a single
NASCAR.
driver could
These
spark
big
a chain
old
reaction that would take
pileups.
many cars out of the race. It was one of Earnhardt's main reasons for hating restrictor plate racing, and he would fall victim to it numerous times.
Oof.
In 1993, Earnhardt would once again lead most of the race, only to finish second after Dale Jarrett passed him on the final lap. After a 7th place finish in 94, Earnhardt would finish second again in 1995, and again in 1996.
He just getting
Later
those
in the
silvers.
96 season, Earnhardt would suffer a horrific-looking crash that sent his number 3 Chevy tumbling down the Talladega front stretch.
Oh my goodness. Ooh.
Dale Earnhardt attempting to walk to the ambulance.
Oh my goodness. Broke his sternum, collarbone, and shoulder. He would still race the very next week. Holy shit.
Incidents in his racing career.
While it was known that Dale Earnhardt hated restrictor plate racing, it was starting to look like restrictor plate racing hated him.
All those frustrating years for Earnhardt.
After what was that now?
Restrictor plate racing hated him.
All those frustrating years.
Attempt 19, after leading nearly a quarter of the race, Earnhardt runs second with 10 laps remaining. What happens this time?
Close so many times when it should have been his, and it wasn't.
If we get the right help, we're at the right place at the right times. Like I just told Richard, I said, what do you think? You know him better than I do. He said, I've been here a lot of times before, and you can bet he's been in the floor pan right now with that throttle pedal.
Is this the one he does it?
God's time to shine on that 3. We'll just have to see.
As was the formula at this point, Earnhardt ran up front all day and found himself in a battle for the lead with just a few laps to go. And all of a sudden, he found himself on his roof once again.
Bruh!
Down the back straightaway. Big trouble. Earnhardt out. Up and over number 3. And for the 19th time, Lady Luck deals a bad hand.
Oh. 19th time. Holy shit.
I'm not sure I actually believe in curses, but Dale Earnhardt's misfortune in the Daytona 500 really made me consider it. For some wicked reason, the 7-time NASCAR champion and best superspeedway racer in the world could not, for the life of him, win this one superspeedway race.
Yeah, like the Daytona is just, it's just messing him up, dog.
Earnhardt's gut-wrenching futility at this one event is made even more insane when you consider that he's the winningest driver in the history of the track. No, seriously. By 1997, Earnhardt had won pretty much every stock car event at Daytona multiple times over.
Wow.
All except the one that mattered most.
So he's like pretty much every other kind of race you could potentially have at Daytona, he won. Except for the Daytona 500. What kind of luck is that? Like, for real. Genuinely. Like, how does that happen to a guy?
After 19 tries and 19 failures, he should have been completely discouraged. But Dale Earnhardt was not a quitting man.
I sure
he
hope
wasn't
not.
even willing to quit this race.
What a pile of grit. Earnhardt is in the car. He's barking instructions to the crew.
Wait, he's actually doing it? They're just duct taping his car back together?
Even though he no longer had any chance of winning, Dale Earnhardt would hop out of the ambulance and back into his mangled car to finish the race. When faced with the lowest moment of his career, Dale Earnhardt did what he always did.
They're just duct taping it back together.
Forward.
Where the fuck did his hood go?
Did what he always did. He waited for an opportunity and put...
Dude, that just like that got sent in the that had to have hit somebody.
Forward.
Attempt 20, 1998.
There's a slow car up ahead. And there's trouble coming off of turn 2. Some cars get strangled.
Oh.
It might be this. Whoever gets back to the
they're spinning.
The yellow together. 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
20 tries. He finally got it.
Has come out to the edge of pit lane to congratulate
he
the man
finally
who
got it.
Everything there is to win in this sport, except this race, until today.
20 years.
They used to boo Dale Earnhardt when he was winning too much. That'll happen if you dominate any sport. But today, when they introduced the Intimidator, the crowd
that
was
is
full of
amazing, dog. 20 years. 20 years.
Dale, this is your year. And boy, a lot of them said it this year. The Daytona 500 is ours. We've won it. We've won it. We've won it.
Absolutely. February 15th, 1998.
The hangover from Earnhardt's Daytona 500 victory lasted throughout the 1998 season, where Dale would not win another race and finish a distant 8th in points.
Jeez.
Perhaps overcoming the single greatest foe in his racing career was a little demotivating. After winning the 500, Earnhardt had almost nothing left to accomplish. He could have tried for another championship, breaking the tie with Richard Petty, but both he and a lot of others began to tell that his age was starting to get the best of him. Later in the 98 season, Earnhardt suffered his second hard crash at Talladega in 2 years. In the post-race interview, Earnhardt for the first time ever sounded fed up, exhausted, and demoralized.
What was the day like up to that point?
It was good. It's not good racing, though. Y'all can talk about all you want. It ain't good racing.
In 1999, Earnhardt would infamously dump Terry Labonte to win at Bristol.
Leader change and Labonte takes the lead. And meanwhile, Ricky Rudd trying to...
Earnhardt
spins him out. Earnhardt takes the checkered flag.
Any goodwill he had from his crowning achievement just a year prior had worn out its welcome, as
he's got to go back to heel mode.
He's got to
go back to heel.
In attendance.
Oh, the booze.
At this point, Earnhardt and the fans had a mutual yearning for something new.
I'm here with Dale Earnhardt after he just won the Die Hard 500.
What's the question, dude?
Well, how was the race?
Checkered flag, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh, Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's, I do know that name. Well, whenever I was a kid, that was somebody, I distinctly remember that name racing whenever I was a kid. So, you know.
Dale Earnhardt never achieved his dream of racing alongside his father. He was able to race alongside his son.
That's awesome,
Jr.
dude.
Made his
The fact that he got to
Winston
race
Cup
with his
debut in
son,
2000
that's
under
great.
his father's own race team. Dale
Wow.
Jr. captured his first
He
career
got to-
win
he
in
raced
just his 12th
with it under
overall
his
start,
dad's team.
almost 21 years to the day of his father's first win. In Victory Lane that day, Dale Sr. appeared to take more pride in his son's accomplishment than any of his own.
That's
Racing with his son
amazing,
seemed
dog.
to renew Dale Earnhardt's sense of purpose. Some would say that's all he ever really wanted, to race side by side with his own flesh and blood. And although the aging Earnhardt was nearing the end of his career, he would still make you think twice about questioning his greatness.
Oh, the music.
Earnhardt trying to come up through the middle.
God. Even as he gets older, Earnhardt's still killing it, dog. God, it's just like, honestly, it's just like, oh, he's pulling ahead. He's pulling ahead on the outside. Yeah, this orchestrated version of Deja Vu from Initial D.
Legend has it that Dale Earnhardt was so good at restrictor plate racing because he could see the air coming off of the other cars and used this ability to perfectly time his passes.
They say my man's is an airbender.
Final career win came, fittingly, in a restrictor plate race at Talladega.
But take a look at this moment. That is Michael Waltrip, out of control, tri-oval, into a series of sidewinders. 9 shattering snap rolls.
Prior to the start of the 2001 season, DEI signed Michael Waltrip to drive the number 15 Chevy. Michael Waltrip had spent his entire career racing in the shadow of his older brother Darrell, and after 15 lackluster seasons, Michael Waltrip was still seeking his first career win. Dale Earnhardt believed in Michael, however, and he would open 2001 racing not just with his son, but with his team. I think all of you know what happens next. It was probably the only thing you knew about Dale Earnhardt. On one February afternoon, Dale Earnhardt would enter his black number 3 for the final time.
Daytona International Speedway. Daytona 500. He's racing with his team at Daytona 500. They're pulling ahead. Jeez, that is anxiety-inducing, all of that together. Oh! Holy!
When Tony Stewart got turned sideways against the backstretch
Ooh!
20.
When it gets hit by every car in the field,
swinging like that. Goodness!
God help all of them because there's no place to go.
Oh,
incidentally,
shit, his car is on
leave
fire.
Dale Earnhardt in third position behind the DEI cars of Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip. As the laps wound down, everyone began to realize that Dale Earnhardt wasn't trying to win the race. Rather, he was holding back the rest of the field so that his team could win instead. Dale managed to hold off everybody until
awesome,
the final
dude.
corner of the final
he's just
lap.
trying to get like his protege and his son to win.
Get him in the 3 car down. Big trouble.
The cameras cut away from the accident. It should have been one of the happiest moments in NASCAR history, as Darrell Waltrip joyfully commentated his brother's first win on the grandest stage of all. A storybook ending to a picturesque day of thrilling, action-packed racing. And then the cameras cut to Dale Earnhardt's crumpled vehicle lying at rest in the infield grass. Nobody knew it at the time, but the greatest tragedy in NASCAR history had just occurred. Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR's greatest driver, was dead at 49.
This is is undoubtedly one of the toughest announcements that I've ever personally had to make. But after the accident in turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
The official cause of death is listed as a basilar skull fracture sustained as a result of blunt force trauma. When Dale Earnhardt struck the turn 4 wall, he died instantly.
Oh.
Looking back on it all today, it's hard to believe it even happened. Dale Earnhardt was NASCAR's Iron Man, the toughest driver in the sport. He hadn't missed a race since his rookie season. He walked away from this
49.
and this. Why did he die from this?
Like,
how did no one die from this crash earlier in the race? Well, at over 190 miles per hour, destinies can be profoundly altered by a matter of inches. NASCAR's greatest tragedy was avoided by inches, and NASCAR's greatest tragedy was caused by inches. In the lap 173 crash, Dale Earnhardt was just inches away from getting collected. Ironically, if Earnhardt had just been a little less fortunate here, it's likely that he would still be alive today.
I remember him coming on there, and I can't remember if it was before or as soon as the wreck happened or during the red flag, but he said, "Richard, if they don't do something to these cars, it's going to end up killing somebody."
Dale Earnhardt was always aware of NASCAR's darkest secret. He just never imagined that he'd be the one reminding everyone of the truth. NASCAR is caked with the blood of dead drivers. The reason NASCAR was so compelling was because it was deadly.
Dude.
Obviously, no one actively wished death upon drivers, but it was mutually understood as an inherent risk of gliding around in a 3,500-pound hunk of metal at 190 miles per hour. Every few years or so, a driver would unexpectedly die in a race. Since the very beginning of the sport, this was the dark reality in the back of everyone's mind. You never wanted to see it happen, but when it did, you accepted it as inevitable and moved on. Dale's death was very different, though. Many racing fans still haven't moved on. It was just too painful. The biggest icon in racing dying in the middle of the biggest event.
Damn.
Imagine if Michael Jordan died during the NBA Finals, or if Tom Brady died during the Super Bowl.
That just sucks, man.
This is what it felt like watching Dale Earnhardt die in the Daytona 500.
Like, the Daytona 500, the race that was, like, his mortal enemy. He was, like, watching his son and his protege take the win right at the end.
And in my humble opinion, it's the single worst tragedy in the history of American sports.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Even though Dale Earnhardt's death was a devastating shock for the millions of fans watching, you could at least take solace in knowing that he probably wouldn't have wanted to go out any other way. Dale Earnhardt died doing what he loved, and his final memory was watching his own drivers speeding towards the finish line with nothing but open racetrack in front of them.
I think Dale Earnhardt is the best race driver that's ever been in a stock car. How do you feel about that?
Well, yeah, that's a big statement. I think my dad was the greatest when it comes to racers.
For as much as he accomplished, no one knew for sure if Dale ever felt he proved himself to his father. It's a burden he took to his grave, leaving us to wonder about Dale much in the same way Dale had to wonder about Ralph. The only thing we know for sure is that Dale finally caught up with his father's ghost. The story doesn't end here. Although NASCAR suffered perhaps its greatest ever loss, they still had 35 more races to run that season. When faced with their lowest moment, NASCAR had no other option but to push forward.
February 16, 2021, 2001, 1 week later.
Steve Park scores the second straight win for Earnhardt Incorporated and the second win of his career.
Boy, and that team, that company, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, they needed that.
With an Earnhardt hat in his hand, Steve Park will drive to victory lane.
After the tragic Daytona, Richard Childress would call on rookie Kevin Harvick to fill Earnhardt's vacant race car. Harvick would make his Winston Cup debut the following week with the new number 29.
Just like a year ago, he's gonna get him.
Harvick would score his first career victory and thus his third Cup start. The finish perfectly mirrored Earnhardt's victory he had the same track just a year prior.
Of a year ago with Dale Earnhardt and Bobby Lamont.
Look at Kevin Harvick as the fans saluted Dale with the number 3 on the third lap. Kevin Harvick salutes him on the way to victory lane.
If I was him, I'd run that thing out of gas riding around here.
What could be more fitting?
Oh.
What could be more special?
You can really tell, just like from the sound of their voice, just how much Dale meant to them.
To the outside for the lead in turn 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr. rockets to the front at Daytona. Listen to the crowd.
And look at this crowd behind him. Look at this race behind him.
Here they come, turn 4, final lap of the Pepsi 400. Michael Waltrip in
Dale Jr. coming in for the victory at the Daytona 500.
That was beautiful. Very, very nice. Junior, you happy? Look at that smile.
Absolutely deserved.
And with the most cathartic moment in NASCAR history, Dale Earnhardt Jr. would win at the track that took his father's life just 5 months earlier. For many fans, this win was enough to heal the wounds from the tragedy of that year's Daytona 500.
Oh, it's the Pepsi 400, not the Daytona 500.
Too good to be true, and that NASCAR rigged it.
But
a compelling theory until you consider the years of DEI restrictor plate dominance that followed. From 2001 through 2003, DEI carried the torch of Dale Earnhardt's restrictor plate prowess by winning 9.
Like all of those wins for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
Of the 12 super speedway events. In 2004, Dale Jr. would achieve what took his father 20 years by winning the Daytona 500 in just his 5th attempt.
The legacy continues. Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins the 46th Daytona 500.
Following the death of Dale Earnhardt, NASCAR would work to implement an unprecedented amount of driver safety improvements, most notably the Hans device, safer barrier, and car of tomorrow, to make sure that an accident like Dale Earnhardt's could never happen again.
That's good. Oh.
Incredibly hard impact into the safer barrier.
Look at that safer barrier right there, how it just crushed all that stuff. He
Look
is
at
out of that. Look at that.
Goodness. And a wave to the fans.
How does he just get out of there and just
Dale Earnhardt
jaunt
still
out?
remains NASCAR's last fatality.
How does he just get out of there? Just like jaunt out, thumbs up. Dog.
Unfortunately, NASCAR's great strides in driver safety may be the only positive news for the sport in the past decade. Attendance, sponsorships, and television ratings have all drastically declined in the past 10 years, leaving the few remaining fans to wonder what exactly drove everyone away. Some people blame the recent mismanagement from Brian France and other NASCAR executives. Some people blame the chase and other gimmicks that have alienated NASCAR's core fan base. Some people blame the lack of interesting or relatable drivers. Some people blame the recession and how it hit NASCAR's core audience the hardest, preventing them from going to races. If you ask me, however, the main reason so many fans stopped watching NASCAR is, ironically, because it got safer. As morbid as it is to say, by removing the inherent risk of racing, NASCAR removed the one thing that separated them from all other sports. Today, NASCAR drivers have never been farther from the snarling jaws of certain death.
Yeah, it's like... Yeah, like, it's kind of like hockey. There's, of course, people watch hockey for hockey, but a lot of people just watch it to see the players get into fights, too. It's stuff like that. Like, a lot of people watch it for the crashes, and because they haven't been crashing as frequently like that, or having these major deathly moments like this, people just don't watch it much anymore. And even if it's, like, interesting.
And the sport has been made far less compelling as a result.
Not sure where Carl's going. Maybe he thinks if he runs across the start-finish line, that'll count.
That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
He's like a marathon. You know how he is. He's an athlete, a marathon runner. I want to finish the race.
Is he running to the finish line?
From the crowd. Shades of Ricky Bobby.
Ever since that
Shades of Ricky
NASCAR fans have been trying to fill the void that Dale Earnhardt left. There's the driver who carried on his name, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Following his father's passing, he became NASCAR's perennial most popular driver until his retirement in 2017. Although he finished with a respectable 26 career wins, Dale Jr. failed to capture a single championship.
Oh, man. Well, that sucks. Like, he definitely won. And he was the most popular driver, and he won a decent amount of races, but not winning a single Cup championship.
And could never live up to his father's godlike legacy. There's the driver who carried on his car, Kevin Harvick, who was able to capture at least one championship and his own Daytona 500 victory. A successful career for sure, but not much compared to Earnhardt's. There's the driver who carried on his title as the 7-time champion, Jimmy Johnson, who in 2016 became the 3rd ever driver to accomplish this feat. While he is statistically the best driver since Earnhardt, Johnson never managed to appeal to the fans in the same way, as his relatively bland demeanor failed to capture the hearts and minds of the greater audience.
Yeah, so he's like pre-tribal chief Roman Reigns then. Where it's like, he's like the winningest guy to ever win, but he's also bland as hell, and nobody likes him because it just feels like, it feels like he's just being pushed. Also, hi, MaxisAmp3D. I'm sorry I can't restart the stream, but we can always just jump in. We're right here where we left off.
And then there's the driver who carried on Earnhardt's number. After the tragedy, Richard Childress retired the number from active competition for over a decade, but he brought it back in 2014 for the full-time Cup debut of his grandson, Austin Dillon. In 2015...
Okay, so he brought out the number 3, Dale Earnhardt's number, for his grandson. That is some nepotism at its finest.
At the finish of the July Daytona race, Dillon would suffer a gruesome-looking accident where his car was launched directly into the catch fence. For a brief moment, every fan watching tensed up in horror after witnessing what they thought was the second fatality in the 3-car at Daytona. Incredibly, Austin Dillon walked away from this with only minor injuries. Some have called him the luckiest driver in NASCAR today, but his luck hasn't contributed to much success on the track. So far, after 5 full-time seasons, Dillon has only 2 wins to his name.
That gave
One
me
of
some
those
heart
wins came in the
palpitations.
2018 Daytona 500. As 20 years after Earnhardt's storybook victory, the 3-car returned to victory lane at Daytona.
And here it comes with the number 3 20 years ago. 20 years of trying for Earnhardt. He won the Daytona 500. Austin Dillon wins the 60th running of the Great American Race.
Well, it's nice to see the 3
Dale Earnhardt, but we know deep down that
winning
he's
again.
Irreplaceable. Many fans consider Earnhardt the greatest NASCAR driver of all time, possibly because we never got to see him decline.
Yeah,
Dale
I mean,
Earnhardt
I can
remained
see
one of the
why.
best drivers in the sport till the day he died, and even then, he still finished ahead of 30 other drivers.
God damn.
Everyone knows what it's like to be stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and all of us experience the same desire to break free from all the gridlock. Not just from the traffic, but from everything. Responsibilities, labor, authority. Sometimes there's no better feeling than seeing miles of open road in front of you. Dale Earnhardt gave this feeling to millions watching at home, and seeing Dale succeed made them believe they could too. For many, Dale Earnhardt was a real-life hero. But most people will never know his story. Most people only know him as some guy who died. They'll never know about the turmoil, the struggle, the determination, the notoriety, the heartbreak, or the triumph. They'll never care about any of it.
It's amazing, like, he's such like a prolific guy. He has a whole bronze statue of him. Like, you don't get a bronze statue like that unless you are like that prolific. Like, for real.
Because who could care about a bunch of cars going around in circles? NASCAR may never be popular again. Realistically, it probably should have never become popular in the first place. It's just a simple sport where no-name hillbillies gather to watch a bunch of fast cars race each other. But Dale Earnhardt made it mean more than that. And for as long as NASCAR sticks around, stock car racing fans will always remember the man in the black number 3, because there will never ever be another driver like him.
You got plenty of money. Don't need that to keep racing. Is it worth the risk to keep on going?
Sure, to win.
At the beginning of this, I knew nothing about Dale Earnhardt, and at the end of this, I know everything about Dale Earnhardt, and I am a fan. He is an absolute legend, and I might honestly check in on NASCAR and what they're doing today because of that. Because of the legend of Dale Earnhardt. Like, I hardly knew anything about the guy coming into this. All I knew is the name Dale Earnhardt, because there had to be a Dale Earnhardt, because I knew about Dale Earnhardt Jr. But I didn't know about, like, his career, his legend, and the way he went out. That still messed me up. But absolute legend. Absolute phenomenon. And he deserves to be known as one of the best. And there will absolutely never ever be another racer quite like him. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about Dale Earnhardt, or just any NASCAR driver you fancy the most. if, like, you know, if you're into NASCAR, tell me who your favorite racer is. Who you fancy? Is it someone today? Is it someone from back in the day? Let me know down in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ding that bell so you know when I upload, and it helps me out in the algorithm. And as always, I will see you next time at the HQ. Bye-bye.